Today I'm going to be telling you a story before I start my talk. It's about a 10-year-old girl and she's standing at her kitchen counter. She's got a bowl of icing in front of her and she's mixing that very happily. And her mother comes up to her and she looks at her and she says that, do you want to try something new? Do you want to help me out in the kitchen? Do you want to make something more? And that 10-year-old girl looks up at her, eyes of wonder, wanting to know more about food. And she says, yes, Mom, I do want to know more. That 10-year-old girl is standing in front of you today. And before I continue with the story about myself and my journey, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Parsis and the community. Zoroastrianism is one of the oldest religions in the world. It's about 3,000 years old. It started in Iran and it was founded by a person called Zoroaster. He believed in fire worshipping, and there was a time when about 1500 years ago where Alexander the Great came and plundered Iran and looted it and ruined it. All the libraries, all our work and facts were ruined, and we were brutally being converted to being Muslims. And that is when the Parsi community, that is the Zoroastrians, they left Iran and they came to the coast of Gujarat. They came to the coast of Gujarat from Iran because they were trying to preserve their fire and their religion. And when they reached the port of Sanjan, which is the first place that they reached in Gujarat, that is where they met the then king, Jada Rana. And there's a small story, it really tells you a lot about the community. The story goes like, the Zoroastrian head, the priest, he comes up to them and he tells them that, will you let us enter and will you let us stay in Gujarat? And you can imagine these are big Iranian men, so they're big and burly and scary looking. And the king said, no, I will not allow you. So he gets a bowl of milk and he puts a little bit of sugar on top of it and he mixes it. And there was no language, but that story, which is known as milk and sugar, that story, which is known as Kissa-e Sanjan, was the founding story of the Parsis in India. That story meant that we will enter your country and we will only sweeten it. We will live with you happily. We will not ruin anything. And that's why Parsis in India don't convert. And they've kept their religion very much to themselves. The word Parsi came from Paras plus I, which meant from Persia. Moving on from Zoroastrianism and Parsis to Parsi cuisine. And Parsi cuisine, for you to understand, is, I would say, not very easy because it's not something that comes from one particular region, but it's a mix of 5 different cuisines. You've got one of the oldest fusion cuisines in front of you. So you've got the culinary secrets of the Persian Empire. You've got the place where they landed, which is Gujarat. You've got Maharashtra, because again, they worked in Bombay and they flourished in Bombay. You've got closely working with the Britishers, and that's where they got the continental influence in their food. And because of the Goan Ayahs who worked, there is a Goan influence in their food. So you've got 5 different cuisines, which is what makes Parsi food. And it's extremely funny because the community is known for their fun and laughter. You'll find that in a kitchen or in a household, there's never a dull moment. And recently I was hearing a study which said that, we've started taking family so seriously now. We want everyone to be perfectly behaved. And I don't think that word behaved is in any dictionary of the Parsis, because we love to pull each other's legs and we love to make fun of each other, and that's why we've got something known as a Baobab egg and a chicken leg, which is something that we can't live without. So a Baobab egg is basically 5 fingers spread wide, and that's the amount of alcohol you should have in your glass. So it clearly means you can't have more than that because it's a whole glass full. So it's a place where you'll find this common word which has now become very popular, which is foodie. Everyone is a foodie nowadays. Everyone is interested in food. Food has come up in such a big way. on social media, the most amount of pictures would probably be like a coffee or a cappuccino on Instagram. And I think we're talking way back, way before social media. The Parsis would only discuss one thing. What is made for breakfast, what is made for lunch, what is made for dinner. That happens in my house, and I think my mom's fed up now. So it's a classic story. So what happens is, every single time you talk about Parsi food, you'd want it to be, it's mostly focused on non-vegetarian, very carnivorous. They want lots of meat because in Iran, the food was very dry and meaty. And when they came to India, to Gujarat, they got the masalas, they got the coconut, they got the fish. And when you come even down south, so what they did was they took all these little influences and they created their own food. Parsis in India currently are only 1,38,000, extremely small as a community. 69,000 in Bombay, which is the only city which has the most number of Parsis. I'm from Delhi, and there are only 300 Parsis in Delhi, currently 299, one standing in front of you. So we value them a lot. It's extremely important to know a count. We have a website, and we get to know everything, where is which person, and etc., etc. Anyway, moving on from the funny things. So there's a great line by Gandhi ji which says that, in numbers they're beneath contempt, but in contribution they're great, which means that you don't need to be a large number, but your contribution has to be great. In terms of charity and philanthropy, we have a lot of Parsis who contribute, and they contribute to societies, hospitals, schools, some of the largest you'd find. And again, coming back to the food, we have, I'm going to be showing you a lot of food pictures, and I'm glad everyone's had lunch. But you'll have a lot of pictures of food. When you see a Parsi food, you'll find a lot of pictures of egg predominantly. Egg is very symbolic for us. It's a sign of fertility. It's also used as a term called achu michu, which is something similar to a coconut. So when you take a coconut and you wave it around someone's head, the same thing is done with an egg for Parsis. And you break the egg, not on the person's head, but on the floor. Extremely important ceremony when a bride comes home or the babies come from the hospital. It's like to ward off evil. You do that. And it's said, and I've actually seen it, I've read it in books, but I've actually seen it, a Parsi's day would not be complete without an egg dish in his meal. What used to happen in the earlier times, and that's what my grandmother tells me, and also that's also the way that a lot of dishes were invented. When you have for dinner, you have a vegetable, you have a dal, and you have a roti. Now that vegetable, whatever is left over, the next day morning is put into a frying pan. You break eggs on top of it, and you put it into the oven. And you have like a dish which you can see. Now that dish is called paridu, which basically means whatever is left, you break an egg on it, and you bake it, and you've got a dish. You've literally got a dish for yourself. So we've got some crazy options. We've got bheja paridu, which is basically brains, and you break eggs on it. So it's a classic dish. You've got wafer paridu, leftover chips, put it in a pan, break eggs on it, easy. Any vegetable, so we've got bhida paridu, which is okra, which is bhindi. I mean, I can go on. There's like one chapter on eggs, which you can use everything and simply break an egg on it. So that's how the line came, when in doubt, break an egg on it. The patrani machi is again a very symbolic dish, takes flavors from Gujarat and is made with coconut, made with coriander and mint and local fish that's bought. That's again another different dish, mixture of two cuisines. Now you've got Iranian cuisine and you've got Indian cuisine, which is called the sali boti. You've got mutton, which is cooked, and you've got the potato sticks on top of it, which is what is called sali. So basically Parsis want textures. They want something spicy, they want something khatta, they want something which has got which is crispy, something which is soft. So whenever we eat and we need something exciting, we put sali on top of it because it's crispy, and it just makes your dish much better. Another very popular egg dish called akuri, and another dish which is very important because again it uses dried fruits or apricots from Iran, and chicken is cooked in it. So it's called Jardalu Mamargi, which is basically apricots cooked with chicken. And the most famous dish out of all, which is the dhansak. Now, the word dhansak comes from an Iranian word known as Khareste Esfahan, which is basically a stew. They cooked mutton, they cooked vegetables, and they cooked it with rice. But now what we've done is, because we've come to India, the addition of masalas, and made it a little more, I would say it's been a little more polished. Otherwise, it just looks like a big stew. And it's the most popular dish. Anyone who walks into a Parsi restaurant will want to have dhansak. Lastly, just touching upon a very important fact, because the Parsis were very much into education, girl and boy child were always treated equally. You would see a lot of people marrying very late. So in a lot of these offices, you'd have Britishers and you'd have women working with them very closely and learning all these continental recipes. And so you'd have like a creme caramel or a souffle, hors d'oeuvres, things like that, which would definitely be on a Parsi person's table. Like I grew up eating souffles and not gajar ka halwa. I mean, I love gajar ka halwa, but I still got a souffle, which is because my mum learned from all the cookery books. Moving on, there are two main masalas that are used, again, mostly prepared at home, just to make you understand a little bit that this is how the food is cooked originally in villages, even now. These three pictures are pictures that I have taken 3 months back when I've been traveling to Gujarat, because I'm writing a book and I'm looking for old Parsi recipes. And in those villages, there are people who are cooking rice chapatis or rice breads, and they're making it on wood-fired oven. And whatever's found around them, they might have herbs, they might have some chicken, whatever is cooked. It's all very local, very homegrown, and that's what I'm coming to later, which is slow cooking. Now that you've understood a little bit about Parsi cuisine, and now that you've understood a little bit about Zoroastrianism, now's the story of that 10-year-old girl coming back into play. When I told my parents that I wanted to be a chef, there was no other female chef that I could talk to. The current food and beverage industry is mainly dominated by men. And if you want to, I mean, it's with every student. When you're in school, when you're in college, you want to ask someone that, how is it, what do you expect in terms of salary or work, or what is the best opinion on, on your behalf. So everyone that I spoke to, they told me that, there are not too many female chefs, then are you sure you're going to be able to work around it? So my answer to them was very simple, because that's the same way that I've been brought up. It doesn't matter if you're a boy or girl. It simply works on what kind of credits you have, how much work you do. It doesn't matter. Your physical structure should not impact what work you're going to be doing. So nevertheless, I said I'm going to intern, I'm going to try my hand at a couple of things. And at the age of 14 or 15, I remember helping a caterer out, and I was excited. I was like, so much work to do, so much running around to do, cutting, chopping, whatever else it might be. I decided to go to IHM Aurangabad. I did my BA honors in culinary arts. And I did really, really well. I topped my college and obviously worked with different people in the industry. After that, I came back to Delhi and I said that, what, like everyone else, I want to work, I want to go abroad. I want to work in the West. I want to learn their techniques. I want to learn French cuisine. So I went to Le Cordon Bleu. And when I went to Le Cordon Bleu, there's this story which I call it as the pork Vindaloo story. So the pork Vindaloo story is that at Le Cordon Bleu, whatever you cook, you take it back home. So I made pork chops and I took it back home. I looked at the box of pork chops, looked very dull, very boring, no masala, nothing, and I was missing home food. So I took the pork chops, washed off all the sauce, and I made like this Vindaloo gravy and I put the pork chops in it. And I sat down and I ate that with bread. And that was my moment where I was like, why am I running behind the West? Why do I want to learn French food when there's so much goodness in your own cuisine? There's so much goodness in India, every part of India, every village in India, every house that you go to, the dal ka tadka changes. If you even try and record all of that or learn all of that, it's impossible in a lifetime. So when I came back to India and I was 23, that's when the concept of soda bottle opener wala came about. And that's when we decided that we want to take a dying cuisine and we want to revive it. We want to make it cool. Because currently, you take something interesting, you package it in a good way, a consumer will come to you and they will try it out. So at the age of 23, I was handling a team of 16 chefs. The first 3 months, I wanted to quit and never get back into the kitchen because everyone was more senior than me. They didn't want to respect me. And they were like, oh, she's just a pretty face. She's not going to cook anything. So the second method I tried was, like using crass language. And that's how it is in a kitchen. You have to, be really powerful. And if you try and tell them something, they won't even listen to you. They'll just talk to a man and respond. And the third way that I decided, and that's been my mantra till today, is that you have to work with them to show them and earn your credit. So when I worked with them, when I'm dragging a vessel, or if I'm picking something up, or if I'm mixing something, I'm doing some labor-intensive work, and they see me doing that, they're like, okay, this girl is here, and she's actually here to work. And that's what's defined my role in the restaurant, in the kitchen, a person who works with the team. I learn from them, they learn from me. It's a two-way street. Nobody's superior, nobody's senior. It's extremely, extremely important for both of us to respect that. And that was the day that I was called chef. And it's a moment for me in my life to be, which I look back and think of as an extremely prestigious event. And after that, it's only been upwards. Once they respect you, other people respect you. We've opened 7 restaurants from the first restaurant. Now I have 74 chefs and they all work under me. And it's been a journey where I have learned so much because you can't learn that from the books. No school, no college, nothing can teach you that except when you're getting that experience hands-on. And the brand is something like an identity of a Parsi establishment. You want people to understand it's a Bombay Rani Cafe and Bar. You want them to come back and eat things which you don't usually get. In Delhi, we started the first, and now we have it in Bombay, Bangalore, and Hyderabad. We've tried to capture that and keep it. So coming to something extremely personal, out of this entire talk, what is it that I want you to go back thinking of? What is it that I want to leave you with? I want to leave you with a thought saying that there's so much goodness in our own country. There's so much goodness in each and every one of our homes. There's so much out there for you to learn. So don't run behind a trend or don't run behind something that is just looks gimmicky or looks exciting. Learn something from the roots. Learn something from your grandmother. Go up to her, ask her something. You never know from where a business, an idea, what might turn up, and you might be doing something great for your country. So leaving you with a quote by Rumi, you might be looking amongst the branches what might be appearing in your roots. Thank you so much.